perhaps one of the most fascinating in the world, Maynard, James Keenan and Danny Carey from Tool. Gentlemen, welcome to the country again. It's been a few years.
Thanks.
And it's been even longer since we got a record from you. Some people have said, you know, you can make a Lord of the Rings trilogy quicker than you can create a Tool album. Is that a deliberate ploy between...
An entire set of Star Wars films as well.
Yeah. Or, you know, the 8 Police Academy movies could be created before we see a Tool record. Does it just take that long to get it right?
Yeah, but it's a lot cheaper.
What, to make Lord of the Rings trilogy?
Oh, no.
No.
I wish I could say that. I wish we had those kind of budgets those guys have to work with.
Right,
sure.
no kidding.
But you do hear that with some bands that, you know...
Guns N' Roses.
Corn, you know, like spending $2 million, $3 million, $5 million on records.
And still not getting it right.
Yeah. How does that happen, do you think? When you're in the studio, can you get a grasp of how that could happen and things could blow out and just get beyond your control?
I think a lot of those guys, well, I really can't say, honestly, but because I'm not in their shoes. But I think a lot of them go into a studio without actually having material written. They get a producer and they go in and they just start chasing their tails. We don't do that. We go in to the studio once the songs are completely written and arranged, and pretty much 90% we know about where every effect is going to go, what nuance goes where. It's all been played over and over again in our rehearsal space, and it's pretty much composed. It's kind of an equal part improvisation meets composition.
So that once you've gone into the studio, there is some improv as well that you
No, just in the writing process.
Yeah.
And once we step into the recording studio, we're 90 or 95%.
Yeah.
Knowing exactly what we're going to do.
So I noticed that on the record, you tease people with little bits, and then you think you're never going to hear from it again, and then you come back and keep these themes coming through.
Yeah, they're each little films, basically.
But, I mean, that process is also why you hear all 4 of our personalities in the music, too, though. You hear a whole band in the music rather than hear a songwriter or a dictator just telling some peons what to do around them. You get a lot more for your money, more bang for your buck. You know, it's because of that process. There's a lot more personality, I think, involved, and you hear the melting pot that happens between the 4 of us rather than one guy.
And have you...
Billy Pumpkin is an asshole telling everyone else what to do. You know?
Yeah.
That's the way it works.
Do you think there's even more pressure when you've got these, 4 or 5 years between records, and there are fans out there who are just waiting for any little taste, that the pressure kind of builds up that you have to satisfy them?
I think because we kind of live modestly, we don't let that kind of pressure get to us. It helps us maintain our artistic freedom, and it removes the pressure and expectation on our process. Keeps it pure. If we were driving around in Rolls Royces and huge mansions, with all that kind of, then I think you've kind of set yourself up for a fall. At that point, you're going to end up on, Decline of the Western Civilization Part 3.
At the same time, if we were to succumb to something like that, we would be stabbing all of our fans in the back, and just because that's not what got us here. The fans have always respected how selfish we are, pardon me, and how much we play for ourselves, and they like the output. They don't want us kissing ass somewhere. They want us to do what we do.
With the type of sounds you use and the variety of them, when you look back to records that you've made maybe 7 or 8 years ago, how has that changed, the type of sounds that you create and how you go about creating those sounds?
Well, we just with the period of time, we're sort of craftsmen. We're just like a plumber or whatever. You get better with the tools you use. Your vocabulary or arsenal of sounds gets bigger and broader, so you're able, hopefully, to express yourself a little deeper. In our case, as a band, we're better to create arrangements and songs that are more or better emotional vehicles to transmit, our feelings into people and share our art with people. So, it gets more refined and hopefully it gets more concise and we can say more with less. That's the whole point, And then the better we're able to do that, the more communication we have going on with our fans and the more impact we have and we get to share more. And that's the goal, That's what we're trying to do.
And so you're saying that happens through getting better at your craft, but does technology have anything to do with that as well?
Well, a little bit, but mainly
making it work.
Just mainly we are the medium through which the technology speaks. The human element is what makes it music. That's what gives it its story is your life. So it doesn't
otherwise
really matter.
It sounds gimmicky or some. There's nothing behind it otherwise. You've got to make it your own, that's for sure.
Is the Humane Society ever called for a look at Adam Jones's place? I've heard that there's some stuff either in the backyard or in the actual house that could be terrifying.
Could be. Not at liberty to say.
No.
Yeah.
Would it be fair to say that the Humane Society...
We aren't ready to go on cribs or any shit like that.
No. No doubt.
That's the thing, is we've prided ourselves, we like to sell our work rather than prostitute ourselves. We don't have to sell ourselves because we can rely on our work. We're proud enough of what we do, so we can sell our art,
Yeah.
It makes it a lot better in that way.
And just keep the Humane Society out of it.
Right.
You talk about the lyrics coming later, and on this record and in past records, the way you use the lyrics can be very different depending on the song. Sometimes it's almost that the vocals are extra instrumentation, whereas other times there is a specific message with the wording of the song. Does that come about specific to the song or specific to what message you want to get out?
The vocals start with melodies, and the melodies are there specifically to serve the song. So, it's a delicate balance to maintain because, for the most part, aside from classical music that isn't opera, nobody really buys instrumental records. It has to have some kind of story attached. So there's that fine line where we're using the vocal sounds and the words to enhance the experience and serve the song, but at the same time, you kind of have to have a little bit of a story there to keep the kids who eat McDonald's interested.
Sure, but are you ever tempted as a band to do an instrumental record?
Well, I would kind of leave me out of it.
Yeah, well, in terms of not having lyrics, but using...
KJ, he writes a lot of music.
Yeah, no doubt. But when you're on stage, that's a key part of it for you. But in terms of forgetting about the story, and, like bands like, I don't know, Sigur Rós, who it's not so much about the words, it's about the vocals.
I think at some point that'll probably be an option, if we ever do like a score for a film or something, it'll make a lot more sense. And then, like you said, I could probably do some kind of textural vocals that have no actual content to them. It's just more of an enhancement. Yeah, that's definitely a possibility with us.
Once you've written a song and a record is created and you go, that's pretty heavy. Do you ever go back and go, I wonder where all that came from? I wonder what it was in us at that time that produced this
Generally,
here?
it's a hindsight situation. You don't end up really... you can't...
Yeah, it's like now we can look back at Opiate maybe and say something like that, but not like our current thing, it would be impossible. We're too far inside, It's the way it works,
Fair enough. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today.
You sure? You okay?
Am I sure I'm thanking you?
You're sure you're thankful that we're here.
No, I'm appreciative. Is
Okay.
it the same thing?
I don't know. I'm just making sure we
Close
didn't
enough.
ruin your show.
No.
Okay.
No, I can do that on my own. Thanks. I don't know your help, pal.
Feel free to call on us to ruin your next show.
Anytime. Anytime. Hopefully people go postal over the new record. I'm sure they will. And if you could just leave me now to
As long as you're not
screw up my own show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, man.
Hey, all the best, man.
Thank you, Dan. Cheers.